Welcome to the Deal by Me podcast, where we ask guests to tell us your story. Hello there. This is Dr. James W. Smith, your host. We seek to transform lives by encouraging and inspiring. Someone encouraged and inspired this host, a former lawyer, gambler, inmate, and his life was transformed. The same can happen to you. So when you listen to any of the Deal by Me podcasts, please support this podcast with a donation or a monthly recurring amount for as little as $3. What about a shout out to supporters of this podcast? Reverend Quincy Davis, Dr. Lynn Henderson, Kenneth and Donna McDuffie, Olivia Malbro, Clint and Janet Cozart, and Leonard and Cynthia Meekins. Check out my encouraging, inspiring, and transforming books. I'm available for speaking engagements, in person, and virtual seminars. So please contact me through my website, www.dealbyme.com. I have with me Jeanell Greene, who is a life and relationship coach who is on a mission to save marriages and heal families from generational trauma caused in childhood. Oh, yes, she is well known for helping couples return from the brink of separation and ultimately divorce in less than 30 days. This lady is awesome, and I'm certain you're going to give her your attention as we share with her at this time. Jeanell, would you just tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're being interviewed from?
Yes. Hello, James. I am being interviewed from beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, which is the most westerly point of Canada, and it is gorgeous here, and I love it.
Great, great. You know, you have an awesome story. I have had a chance to uh, view your profile and just learn a little bit about you. And I know you are passionate, and you say you are actually a no BS relationship coach and speaker. And I won't tell listeners of this podcast what I think that BS stands for, but anyway, who loves to get deep, vulnerable and intimate conversations you like to have. So let's get into it. I'm just anxious to see and hear what you got to say. You've done so much, and so I know you were in the corporate world. You were, making lots of money. Then all of a sudden, you decided that you were going to leave that and do something that you found that you truly love. So, what made you decide to leave your corporate job as a successful sales manager to start your own business? That's kind of hard thing for a lot of people to do when you're making a lot of money. So, talk about it a little bit with us.
Yeah. Well, for context, my background is I'm first gen Filipino Canadian. And
Okay.
so ever since I was, and I'm the firstborn as well. And so I think since at a very young age, there was a lot of expectation that I felt was on me to be the good girl, to be the obedient one, to be the straight A student. And so my whole life has been about proving myself, being successful, looking good, if I'm really honest.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in a man's world. I was working in software. I was, I think, only of 3 women out of 24 on my team of people that were women. And so I just kind of developed this very go hamster wheel, hustle mentality. And God would intervene in my life close to my 40s. And I just started to feel restless in my soul. And it's hard for those who have felt this, they know exactly what I'm talking about. But it was almost like on the outside, everything was perfect. I was winning awards. I had won a free top producers trip to Bermuda. And I got to bring my husband. We got to stay at the Fairmont. I got to get on stage and accept an award in front of hundreds of people. And so I had worked so hard to have this result in my life. The year after Bermuda, I actually won a trip to Rome.
Mm,
And I remember being in Rome and thinking to myself, this is beyond my wildest dreams. And I worked really hard and I earned this for sure. And there was something still missing within me. And it was like this calling. It was almost, if I could visualize it, explain it in a visual way, it was almost like this door. It was like this door in front of me. And I don't know what movie that is, but there's this movie with a door and the light shining on the other side really bright. It was kind of like that experience. And I knew that I was supposed to walk through this door, but I was afraid because I didn't know what was on the other side of it. But I knew it was something good.
mm,
And so as I started to roll up to my 40th birthday, I was planning this big party and I was sitting on my couch, really just reflecting like, wow, this is the halfway point of my life, basically. And just reviewing, doing, rolling the tape. And I saw myself, meeting the queen. I saw myself performing. I actually sang for Maya Angelou. I went through my mind and all these things I got to accomplish. And yet I felt like I hadn't accomplished anything yet.
mm,
And so I kind of just sat there and and I started to imagine myself at the end of my life. And there I am at the pearly gates of heaven.
mm,
And St. Peter says to me, Jeanell, what did you do with your life on earth?
mm.
And
Well,
go ahead.
no, I'm just curious as you're talking. It seems to be like you've had an epiphany,
Yeah.
something that really just hit you and made you want to go in a different direction,
Yeah.
and I guess I want to just kind of talk about that just a little bit more. What was that defining moment in your life that changed you forever? It's something happened, and I'm hearing it as you're beginning to talk, and I want you to kind of talk about it a little bit for listeners of this podcast.
I've always, since I was young, I've always felt I was different.
Okay.
For sure. Yes, I was great at school and all these other things, but I just felt energetically like I was different. And like a lot of people spent a lot of energy trying to fit in and trying to not be different. And so as an adult, I think I've really, I started to do this work about 20 years ago. The work for me started when I was going through my divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the moment where I'm like, something has got to change about me. I need to be better. I need to take responsibility. Otherwise, when I leave this relationship, my next relationship is going to be just the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so, really, that's when I started to do the work. And so, for me, I'm very self aware. I can tell when I'm unhappy. I can tell when there's something that's not right. I don't try to avoid it or deny it. I really sit with it. And so, as I had been mentioning to you, this feeling, this restlessness had already been building up for about a year up until this point. And so there I was on my couch 3 months before my birthday. And just really like I'm looking at my body and I'm like, you know what? I don't love my body. Looking at my life, I'm like, yeah, I have money, but do I love what I do? No, not really. It pays the bills. I'm really good at it. But is Jeanell, her heart, her love, who she is and what God made her, is it being used up in this capacity that I'm in now, working in software? And the answer was no. So
Mm-hmm.
then the question came to, well, what would that look like? If I could do life over again, if I could be born tomorrow, if God gave me a fresh slate to start from, what would I want to create? And that's
Yeah.
how I really started. I hired a coach actually to help me do the digging. And what I discovered is I love people. I have had so much life happen to me, both good and bad, that were gifts that I could now help others who are struggling in the same way. And I
Oh.
really wanted to have that experience that when St. Peter says to me, Jeanell, what did you do with your life? Where
Mm.
did you make a difference? I could say, see, I've got lots to show.
Yeah, I can tell that you're very passionate about where you are.
Hmm.
Did you get there as a result of going through your divorce, or was this after you went through the divorce and you didn't want to get into another relationship before you really found your real passion? Am I making sense?
Yeah, no, I actually met my husband. So I've been married now 17 years. I met my husband actually quite shortly after my divorce. So it wasn't that. I think it honestly, James, it was just a random come to Jesus moment. But the visual I have is me sitting on the couch by myself and just feeling really unsatisfied
Mm-hmm.
how my life had gone. And so, in that moment, sitting on the couch, I enrolled myself in a seminar called Being Extraordinary. I hired a personal trainer and I lost 25 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And I cut out sugar for the next 3 months to help with the weight loss. And so when my birthday came, when my 40th birthday came, I looked amazing. I went back home to the Philippines and my family was like, "Where is the other half of you?" I looked great. I was happy. I took care of my heart. I took care of my body. I took care of my spirit. And I got to be with my family in the Philippines for my big birthday.
Mm, mm. You just an exciting and intriguing person. I'm enjoying talking with you because I truly understand a lot of what you're saying because I've had my own experience. That moment when you feel like, uh, uh, I've got to do something different. I can't continue down this path because you see where it has led me, and you don't know my story, but if you knew my story, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I understand the passion. I understand exactly where you are. So I want you to talk a little bit about that. Talk about your passion. Why are you so passionate about what you do, and and I assume what you're doing is talking with other people who are going through or who went through some of the same things that you
Mm.
went through. Am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely. In a nutshell, I would say, on the outside, people would say, Jeanell, you had great parents, you lived in a very safe city, you had it all going on. And what people don't realize is even when on the outside it looks like we all got going on, in the inside, we still battle the same fears, the same trauma from childhood. I was bullied a lot for being smart. Um, I was sexually abused as a child. My dad left when I was 9, started a new family, and then came back 3 years later when he got sick, and then he died. And, me just really trying to make sense of why my dad did what he did, even
Mm-hmm.
though he loved us and loved my mom, and it seemed like nothing was wrong. But to answer your question, why am I so passionate about what I do, is I think that this is my calling, to be really honest. I feel like
Mm,
I actually had a moment, James, about 3 4 years ago, and I was taking a nap, and this was sort of new into my business. And I was taking a nap, and in my nap, I literally heard someone say to me, "You are a healer,
mm,
and you are meant to bring love and healing to the world." And so I've really held on to that because that experience has never happened to me before, where I actually heard a voice talk to me. And so that's really been my guiding light. I'm like, okay, that is spirit showing me, Jeanell, this is why you're here. And God was so good to me to bless me with a divorce, or with a marriage that didn't work. So I really got to see what that's like to feel
mhm,
so lonely inside of a partnership. So now I can be so empathetic with my clients who are feeling such loneliness and despair, when they're on their knees, like feeling so hopeless and so helpless. Like, I get that feeling. And
mhm,
on the other side of it, here I am, married to the most perfect human being, and God's greatest gift to me. And every day I look at him and go, Lord, thank you for giving me a partner who just loves and supports me and showers me with affection and is my greatest cheerleader. And
Mm,
I really believe that we can all have that. We can all create that in our lives, but it really starts with us being the best version of ourselves and not expecting other people or things to make us happy. Like happiness begins within, and we have to love ourselves and we have to love where we've been, even though we're not proud of it. We need
mhm,
to love who we are now, and we need to be really clear about who do we want to become. Otherwise, we get stale, like the energy gets stale. And
mhm,
there's that saying, they say, you're either growing or you're dying. And I really believe that.
mm,
And so
mm,
even though I've been doing this work for 20 years and I do it every day, when I'm working with my clients, I'm doing the work with them. The work never ends. And that's what makes this so exciting, because even just the other day, I saw something about myself that, oh, wow, I don't like asking for help. This is interesting. Oh, that must be from my mom. My mom never asked for help. So I'm always discovering things about myself that I can bring to the table to help others in their journey, so that maybe, yeah, they have to go through this difficult phase in their life, but they don't have to do it alone. And
mhm,
it doesn't have to be so long. It doesn't, grief doesn't have to take 5 years. It can take 2 months. You just
mhm.
got to be able to work on your heart and yourself.
Well said. Well said. Uh, you are a life and relationship coach, and in your profile, you talked about how you were on a mission to save marriages. So I assume you do this by your personal uh, talk with individuals, or do you do workshops, seminars, inspirational, motivational speaking? How do you go about doing this work to help marriages and to heal families from generational trauma?
Yes, well, I am working on a book right now. This 2024, there will be a book, I promise you. I am working on a workshop right now, actually around forgiveness. I think
Okay.
forgiveness is one of those things that people don't really talk about. They don't understand. They don't understand the meaning of it. Therefore, we're not practicing it. And what I think people need to understand is you cannot have peace and love and happiness without forgiveness, because we're human.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's a topic that not just for couples, but I think the world needs to get better educated on, so that we can
Mm-hmm.
have the peace and the love that we all so desperately want and
Wow.
deserve.
Now, I do agree with that very much. I definitely agree with that. Uh, Jeanell, I told you earlier, what one of the things I'll be talking to you about. And I'm a minister. As a matter of fact, I pastored for uh, 32 years, just retired last year. And I started this podcast because I wanted to continue my ministry by encouraging, inspiring, and hopefully transforming lives. And you are a perfect guest, really. Because I always said that I wanted to just talk to guests who I feel can, share some encouraging words. So if there were individuals or listeners of this podcast, to be more precise, who are going through some issues in their marriages, uh, they have some family issues, they may have, been sexually abused somewhere down the line. uh, What would you tell them that will give them some encouraging, inspiring, uh, I guess, words that will help them to transform their lives?
Yeah. One of the gifts that I really got this year was that every obstacle, every challenge, every heartache is a gift, is a lesson, is an opportunity. Just like emotions, emotions aren't bad. They are just the compass that points to something that we need to look at.
Hmm.
I believe that we live in a world that is so busy, so fast paced, that spirit is always talking to us and we're not listening.
Hmm.
And we need to slow down. We need to listen. We need to be accepting. We need to love ourselves. And we need to continue to listen for what is it that I'm supposed to learn from this moment. I look at everything that's happened to my life that's ever gone not
Mm,
great. So for example, my dad passing away, I look
mhm,
at it and go, what is the lesson? What is the gift? What is the opportunity that this experience can teach me, rather than looking at it as something that is bad, or
yeah.
you know, because sometimes we blame God, like, why God did you do this? But it's like, if you can
Mhm,
look at it from a place of like, no, this is something beautiful. And I
mm,
think one of the gifts that death is for us is reminds us of how life is so precious.
mm.
And here we are
Wow.
wasting time being mad at each other, holding grudges,
Mhm,
putting off that someday thing that we've always wanted to do or say to somebody or forgive someone, because we think we have all the time in the world. And I think if we can look at every negative circumstance in a different positive way, that really impacts the experience and the energy that we come in. And then when we do that, we can love ourselves more.
mhm.
Therefore, we can love others more. But when we don't love ourselves, it's really hard to love others.
Wow. Well said. Well said. Listeners, don't go any place. Hang around because I'm going to come back with some more good questions and a good conversation to finish this out with Jeanell. But first of all, I want to ask Jeanell if some of these listeners are interested in knowing little bit more about you, how they can get more information, if you have a book, or just tell us a little bit about how you can be contacted or how they can learn much more about you.
Yeah. The best way is just visit my website. My
Okay.
website's my name, JeanellGreene.com, or you can go to
Okay.
saveourmarriage.ca.
All right. That's Jeanell Greene. That's spelled Genell.
Jeanell.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Green, does that have an E on it or just
Yep.
uh
Got an E on it.
okay. Jeanell Greene, Jeanell, Green, Greene. Want to make certain that you get that. Or the website is, tell us that again.
Saveourmarriage.ca.
Save our marriage dot ca.
That's right.
All right. Okay. All right. Listeners, hope you got that. Uh now, Jeanell, uh, I got a couple more questions that I need to ask
Sure.
you. You're this awesome guest that I've got today, so I gotta get as much out of you as I possibly can.
Absolutely.
Uh, why do you think so many couples, are getting divorced these days? We look at statistics; it just seems like people are not staying together. What is the reason for it? You are this relationship coach, and I assume you've had some experience in this. You've seen it. You've looked at it in different ways. So, could you just tell us a little bit about
Oh my gosh, we
why
would
you
be
think
here
that?
for hours.
What don't
You'd
tell
be
us
here for
all?
days.
What
But I
don't
can
tell?
tell you a few. Yeah, I can tell you maybe like the top three that I
Uh,
see.
okay, tell me the top three.
Top three. Okay, top three. First thing is I think that people get married for the wrong reasons. Many
Hmm.
people, it's because they get pregnant or they get married, but they're not ready to get married. They
Okay.
don't have the friendship. The friendship base is not there. They go from dating to being parents. So there is no nurturing of the relationship to build that foundation. Because when things get hard, that's where the friendship comes in, to know that you guys got each other's back, that no one is trying to hurt anyone. But when we bypass that really important piece of friendship, it's like a house of cards that you just blow on it and it falls apart. The
Hmm.
second reason I think is because generational trauma. We come from parents that have been divorced. We are humans that are trying to be safe and protect ourselves. But here's the thing, the opposite of love, to me anyway, the opposite of love is not hate, is fear. It is fear that separates us. And so when people say to me, well, I want to have love, but I say, but all of your behavior, all of your thinking, all of your feeling is all fear-based. How are you going to get to love from over here? You're not even on the same universe,
Okay.
you know? And then number three, I think it's communication, but more specifically vulnerability. Like
Okay.
my husband and I are so vulnerable with each other. You know, when he has a fear, when his fears, you know, he has a fear that one day I might leave him. He has, you know, abandonment issues.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
he'll tell me that instead of pulling back and being silent and going into his mental cave, he's
Mm-hmm.
really out here with me, telling me what's going on inside of him.
I got
And
you.
and on my side, I have to learn to listen, to value him, to honor him. And I think that's what's missing in a lot of relationships, is that we don't value the other person's experience. We go, well, I wouldn't feel that way, I wouldn't do that, I would do something else. So they make the other person wrong, rather than just getting that this person is dealing with the situation, the way they know, the way they were taught how to cope in
Mm,
stressful situations, and to bring compassion and curiosity to that, rather than condemnation and judgment. And then also making it personal. That's the other thing, we make other people's behavior personal. It's not personal.
mm,
And we
mm,
got to remember that. We got to remember that everyone's got their own story, their own trauma, and we got our own. But when we think that every time they move, it's because of us, and then we take offense, it just creates more and more separation. And then
wow.
if I can add a fourth one, I think fun and play and laughter and creation is missing. I think
Okay.
we have that energy when we get married. You know, it's like, oh, we're thinking about possibility. We're imagining the white picket fence and the happy children. But
Mm,
then when we deal with reality, right, it's different. And so I think that there's a whole bunch of things that we were just never taught, a lot of us as children. And so
mm-hmm.
that's what I take on is, you know, I'm not a therapist, I'm really here to teach people the skills, the strategies, the frameworks to have a relationship that works. It's not reading each other's mind. It is
Mm,
really a conversation. It's even asking for, you know, someone said to me, well, I want to get affection from my husband. I said, well, why don't you ask for it? And she says,
mm,
well, why do I shouldn't have to. I
mm.
said, well, why not? Well, how does
Okay.
he know that you want affection?
Mm-hmm.
He's not a mind reader.
Okay,
And
I
so I
got.
really am teaching people to, first of all, get responsible for themselves, but also teach them a new behavior, a new way of thinking
Mm.
and being.
I hear you. I hear you. You know, I had to laugh because you told me that there were so many, and you want to be here for, you don't want to be here for a whole week, days, but you gave me good, uh, some good ones, four, at least four good ones, and I definitely can see that. You know, there are, uh, I guess, marriages that just seems like there is no hope. Uh, and I'm listening to you, thinking about all the things that you're saying. So, how do you know if there is hope in saving a marriage?
Yeah.
Just get to the point where you wonder, is this marriage worth saving? That seems like I have so many problems, so much is going on. So,
Yeah.
how do you know that?
I don't. They know
Okay.
that. And that's the only question I need to know, because if they're willing, if they're open,
Mm-hmm.
love can overcome anything.
Okay.
But if they're not sure, if they just want to blame and complain and shame, and they're unwilling to change or come together to compromise to find that middle ground, I don't even invite them to work with me. And if they ask, can I work with you? I say no.
Okay.
But really, it really is there hope? I ask them, well, do you think there's hope? Because then you're going to be willing to do the things that are uncomfortable, scary, because you're willing. And when they're saying I don't want to, I remind them, you said this is what you wanted. And so I think that's one of the beauties of having a coach like me who's no BS. I call you on your stuff. You said what you're committed to is having a happy, connected family. I'm going to hold I'm going to hold you to that until the
Mm-hmm.
bitter end. And
Okay.
I'm going to call you when you're not being that.
Mm.
And sometimes we just need someone to kind of, slap us across the head sometimes.
I hear
Sometimes
you.
a gentle nudge and sometimes a slap across the head. And my people know that that's how I work, and that's what gets results for my clients. And they know that I'm a no BS coach. They know that they're going to get the goods. I'm not holding anything back, especially my love.
I love it. I love it. My last question to you. I note that in your profile that
Mm,
not only do you talk about, you're on a mission to save marriages, but also, to heal families from generational trauma. So, how can we stop generational trauma from happening
yeah.
and keep more families together? Because I think that's a really something that we have not talked about enough.
Yeah. So many couples come to me looking for help with their relationship, but oftentimes it's not even the relationship with each other they're dealing with. They're dealing with the trauma from their childhood, watching their parents fight, watching their parents divorce, watching their parents be abused. That's what
Mm,
they're dealing with. And so as children, right? We under the age of 8, we are all emotion. There is no logic. That's why when you tell a little kid that Santa Claus exists, they're like, oh, okay. They don't have
mhm,
that ability to reason yet. And so anything we hear as children, good or bad, stays in our subconscious. So as we grow up, all of that is still there, and we're still functioning from the same principles and rules and laws as when we were 5 years old.
mm. I hear you.
So, for example, yesterday I actually had a client and he's dealing with this. And he's from Jamaica, and his mom left him when he was, I think, 5 years old and came to Canada to start a new life. And I guess what had happened is the husband had cheated on the mom. So the mom left. But in that little child's mind, he left him, she left him.
Mm,
So
I
here
got
we
it.
are, 50 years later, still in his own marriage, struggling with trust,
Mhm,
struggling with feeling safe, struggling with opening up.
mm.
And he didn't even see that it had anything to do with his parents. He
I
just thought, oh, I'm just this way. I'm just not a very emotional person. I'm just not very affectionate. No, no,
mm,
no, no. You're this way because something happened to you.
mm.
And so this is why I love this work, because it's not just, give me A, I give you back A. You give me A, and I'm like, have you looked at all the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A? And it's like, oh,
Mm.
I didn't even see that. And that's what I find so fun about this work. But back to your question, I think we need to heal the past. We need to back to forgiveness. We need to forgive ourselves, first of all. Then we need to forgive our parents. And we need to forgive our ancestors, their parents and the parents. Everyone just does the best they can. If you're a parent, you get this. You get how you try so hard to be a great parent. And sometimes you win and sometimes you lose.
Mm.
And
Oh
so I
wow.
think we feel that, right? Then we can have great families. Then when our children watch us, they see love, they see understanding, they see patience. Now they know, oh, this is good. This is what marriage looks like. And then they can replicate that.
Well said. Well said. Jeanell, this has been an awesome interview with you. I'm so glad to have had you part of this podcast. And I'm just grateful to you sharing with listeners of this podcast today.
Thank you.
And and there you have it, Jeanell Greene, uh, who says she loves talking about her own marriage of 17 years and how they keep the fire hot. Oh, what a wonderful guest we've had today to share with us. And until next time, peace and blessings be with each of you.